So I don't know if this is a video worth watching. It's I was just looking at this box and thinking about how on the channel I've sometimes referred to my treasure chests, and basically that's a different way of saying like I don't keep my books out on shelves. And the reason for that is that if you've ever seen what sunlight can do to a book, the way it dries it out and the way it leaches the color out of it, and this is particularly true of the first edition orange spine covers I've seen for those hardcover books. It's awful. So I keep all of mine hidden away, and I've slowly built a collection over. Yeah, if you want to start a D&D collection for first edition D&D, the best time to start is about 25 years ago. That's when I started. Anyway, I have a combination of books that I've bought over the years from private collectors, well, people dumping stuff. I've found some in some bookstores, and particularly half-price books in Indianapolis was a good place to get a lot of my collection taken care of. But in any case, this is the one of the boxes that I keep some of my AD&D collection is. This is a more or less complete, at least of the hardcovers, but certainly not the only box of AD&D stuff that I have. So let's have a quick look. So I suppose this is a kind of a strange thing to have front and center. It's OSRIC, and what does that have to do with first edition AD&D? Well, if you don't want to pay the ridiculous amount of money that's being asked for those products nowadays, because they're collectible, and that means, yes, I'd like 100 to 200, however many dollars, please, then this is an excellent way to have your monster manual, Players Handbook, and DM's Guide all wrapped up into one. I got this from paid Lulu to print it up for me in hardcover, and although it was not cheap to get international shipping to Canada, I regret nothing. Beautiful book. Good book. So it's got some lovely old school art that I appreciate. So yeah, I feel quite at home with a book like this. And if I did not have the collection that I have, I would be quite pleased to have this as my main book. And in fact, I don't think that I would ever travel anywhere with my own actual original books. This is a great stick it in your backpack, haul it off to manage stuff with your friends approach. So there you go. There's Osric. Next, oh goodness, we've got some stuff here. All right. So there's an original module of Dungeonland. It came, gosh, I don't know whether I bought this separately or whether it was a friend that gave it to me, but anyway, it's amazing, these old style books. Like this is 30 pages plus, no, I guess 32 pages, plus that blue map cover that was just a thing, which is why, like, even with the OSR logo, you'll see it in that color of blue, and this is why. They're trying to evoke that old sense. Yeah, what that stuff looked back in the day when you're looking at a dungeon. So, the Book of Layers. I recall I got this from, oh gosh, I think it was called Boardroom Games. It was a game and hobby shop in Indianapolis, and it went out of business, sadly. Anyway, I ended up buying a whole bunch of their stuff when it reached a point that I could actually afford it. And I just basically went in and bought, to get as much as possible, as cheaply as possible, I bought all the stuff that was marked down as much as possible. So this Book of Layers, which I swear I've seen on one of my YouTuber watch list channels, it might be The Lost Adventurer. And if not, you should absolutely subscribe to his channel anyway, because I love him. He's got such a great presentation. He adds a lot of humor and, you know, gifs and stuff to his videos. He puts a lot of production and finish and polish into it in a way that I do not with my, you know, recorded and uploaded approach. Let me see if I can slightly adjust the camera angle here, so we can get a little bit more of this stuff in one shot. That's a little better. Okay, see? And I'm not cutting that out. You get it raw from me. This also, the official RPGA Tournament Handbook. Not only did I purchase it used, it still has the wrapping on it. Well, there we go. You can see a little bit in there. Pardon the made-up bandages. I do a lot of construction stuff, and I either get really painful calluses or cuts, and nothing like duct tape to hold everything in place. And if you're Canadian, or if you're familiar with the Red Green Show, enough said. Okay. You'll notice up on the top of the box here, I always keep some dice in all of my treasure chests, and as is the old school way, there's no D10s. You just take this and you roll it twice. 0, 0 is 100, 0, 1 is 1. All the numbers in between, pretty obvious. Okay, so there was the first one here, and the monster manual, of course. You can tell the age of these TSR books by basically looking at the which logo they were using. I think they started out with a Minotaur. Actually, they started out with a word mark, and then it was the Minotaur, and then the Wizard, and then that TSR word mark that had the face in it, the Zeus face, and then it goes up from there. So this is one of the older ones, and it's in pretty good shape. You can see, so the color there, that looks very beautiful. It really is. It really is beautiful. I know you're proud of your books. Keep them out of the sunlight. You know, let them enjoy. You know, looking this way, beautiful, pristine. Oh gosh, I love that gargoyle. Don't you love that gargoyle? And the gas spore. There really is something about that old school black and white line drawing art, and you know, I can appreciate the realism of current products, but I have to say, like, that giant gar there, like, this is so evocative. It's so amazing. There's something to be appreciated about both eras of books, I have to say. So, and this cover, Dave Trampier. I'm assuming he doesn't speak it with a French accent. Anyway, it's gorgeous. Actually, wait a minute. Is this a Sutherland? It's a Sutherland. Okay. I could be wrong. Okay, definitely the Players Handbook. That's a Trampier. I am not an art expert, but actually, some people laugh at this cover now. Can I just say? And because I suppose they were trying to make a point, and like, wouldn't it be cool if we had like all these monsters? And yeah, it makes no sense that they would all coexist or be in the same shot. You know, why would you have these underground and these overground? Like the dragon would pretty much breathe fire and roast everything and then eat it. But I don't know. It's cool. It's kitschy. There's a castle in the sky, a purple worm. You know, carrion crawler. What's not to like? I love it. Anyway, this is the Dave Trampier. Yeah. So I've said maybe some unflattering things about Mr. Gygax. Did you know that pretty much at the height of his career, Mr. Trampier, he quit making beautiful things like this, and instead abruptly disappeared, said nothing to anybody, became a cab driver, and just lived in obscurity for the rest of the years of his life, other than a newspaper article which was written about him. Anyway, what a shame. And he just felt that he'd been very badly treated by the industry, and given that he'd worked probably primarily for TSR, yeah, no disrespect to Mr. Gygax, he was a guy running a business, but there are more stories about I don't know, how he ran things back in the day. And no one is a perfect person. Like I said, it's but you don't want to put him on a podium either. He was a human being, you know, he had his flaws, but did make some beautiful things. So this may be just a quick run through my entire collection. Okay. There's the DM's Guide. Actually, all three of my books, they've got the wizard logo, so they're of that era. And this is an Ifrit. And yeah, keep your books out of the light. Let them stay beautiful like that. You know, in their own dated, kitschy, cool kind of way. This, for my money, is, for all of its flaws, and many people have said this, it's the greatest book. This is my Desert Island book. If, yeah. If I could only have so many books, and I had to read the books for the rest of my life, this would be the book. And I would treat it like a bedtime story. I would read it aloud to myself, in much the way that I'm reading to you right now. There's just so much stuff in here. And so many inappropriate things, which would never cut it in a modern game. Anyway, I'm sure some line-drawn art in that way is not gonna... It didn't cause me any permanent brain damage, and I'm sure you'll just be fine. Anyway, the content of this, I love the artwork, but this is one of those books where the High Gygaxian, it's as flawed as it is, as impenetrable and needlessly wordy as it is sometimes. In the right mood, I find it completely poetic, and I can read page after page of this stuff, and not be the least bit bothered that there are no pictures to break it up. This is a very information-focused book. And it has some lovely, funny cartoons in it. My favorite cartoon of all time is the one that has the adventures. I can't flip through it right now. This video would be so much longer. It's the one with the adventurers sitting around and they're playing Papers and Paychecks. You know, how they're students and workers in a technological industrial society or some such. Anyway, whatever it is that your reality is, I'm sure you'd much rather be doing something else with it. This is a special book. This is actually one of my original books. That is my very old signature when I was a very, very young child. So, anyway. Yeah. This book gets a mix of praise and criticism because it has some of the stupidest monsters ever created, but it also has, oh wow, some of the most amazing artwork. Just look at that. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay. Speaking of bad, there's the flumph there. Was it Ed Greenwood that made that? Is he the one that owned up to that? Anyway, do your research. I ask a lot of questions legitimately, and you're there at the computer. You're not making a video. You could look this up. It would be great. Yeah. Anyway, I love this book. You know, I love it. It is a beautiful creation. It is a wonderful, worthwhile, you know, as much as I love the Monster Manual, I think my affection for this book is even greater. Yeah. And the artwork is amazing. Look at that. Githyanki? I don't know. I've heard it pronounced multiple ways. Love it. Love it. Okay. I mentioned this in a recent short. It is Deities and Demigods, and particularly it is I have two versions of it. One is the one that is the expurgated version, that they tore out all the things that they weren't sure that they had intellectual property on, rights to. But this one has everything. It's got, let's see, there's the Ewan, it's the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser pantheon. Maldivonian, which is Elric, and of course the Cthulhu mythos also in there. And as far as I understand, they could have left some of these things in there. Like there was no particular, like there were letters on file, but somehow lawyers got involved or some such. I'm not sure. And look, there's this line here on page 4 that says, special thanks are also given to Chaosium Incorporated for permission to use the material found in the Cthulhu mythos and the Melnibonian mythos. So, yeah, why did those get taken out? There was no reason to have to do that. They had all the right stuff on file. Let's just do a quick flyby here. I suppose if anything is offensive, maybe the indigenous Native American section could be struck, but you know, that's us looking at modern through modern sensibilities, you know, a current lens to how things are back then. Anyway, wow, Central American. There it is. There's Cthulhu. Errol Otis, man. That guy, what does he dream about at night? He's still making stuff, too. Still making stuff. Anyway. So there's the Ewan, and Fafhrd, and the Grey Mouser. I love their stories. Well, there's some unevenness in Mr. Leiber's work because it was written over decades, but there is more good than not. And of course, Michael Moorcock's Elric series, wonderful, absolutely wonderful. He and Mr. Leiber are my favorite by far. I could read their stuff over and over again. That ghoul. Wow. Oh, there's death. But that ghoul, like, is that creepy? Yeah, absolutely. All right. We're past the halfway mark here, I'm sure. So there's the Monster Manual 2. I'm not as enamored with it. At a certain point, it's just completionism. You make sure that you want all the books because you want all the books because that's what a collection makes. But I do appreciate that this was the era before devils and demons. It's prior to the Satanic Panic, and they didn't have to be renamed. Oh gosh, don't ask me to remember. I know one is a B and one is a T word, but putting out a new edition, second edition, did not change my my opinion on what to actually call these things, you know. A demon is a demon, a devil is a devil. Anyway, so I don't dislike this book. I think it's great. It's fine. But I just, for whatever reason, maybe it's because at the time that these mid to later books started coming out, I was sort of getting into guitar and girls and stuff. And I did not spend nearly the hours with these books. I mean, and I didn't own them, to be honest. My friends had copies of them that I could look at, so but they also were getting older, and they didn't necessarily see these things either. Okay. Unearthed Arcana, one of the most... Well, okay, they needed money. Yeah, things were not going well, and Gary was getting the D&D cartoon and try to drum up more business to make an entertainment, a media arm to TSR back in the day, and this was purely just let's take some halberds and some things from Dragon magazine and we'll just package it all up into a book and not really road test it or see how it throws off the game balance and throw it in a book. But gosh, what a beautiful cover. So other than being the first appearance of barbarians, which are still with us today, a lot of this book is not great, and it's not recommended to actually use it in your game unless you go over it with a well, make some photocopies or use a PDF and just scratch out all the things that are ridiculous and that shouldn't be in there. But I don't know, if you want to see a thief acrobat or cavalier, I'm afraid you'll have to watch that D&D cartoon that Gary made. I do recommend that. I really liked it. I remember going to school and we would say, you know, did you see the episode this week? Of course. Manual of the Plane. So this is definitely, yeah, you can see where the art starts to morph into away from the interesting Trampier Otis covers to this stuff here. And again, no judgment. Things have to move forward. Maybe that art from the old, the 70s and 80s wouldn't look quite as interesting if we hadn't moved away from it. So I'll admit, at this point in going forward, I've spent almost no time looking at books. I got these because, I had a mental list and realized, oh, I don't have that one yet, don't have that one yet. Actually, I didn't have a list. You can tell by the lovely, just the style there, Second edition had the blue sort of tinge that went around the border, but, you can see these books from a mile away. And I basically just grabbed ones that I realized I didn't have yet. But honestly, I've spent very little time thumbing through them. So there's the Wilderness Survival Guide. Kim has just recently passed away, if I remember correctly. It's amazing. It's amazing. This is the terrible thing about getting older, is that awareness that you're, okay, Scott Werner. Okay, look. I'm not sure how visible that's going to be on camera. Anyway, there is a receipt from Half Price Books. Indicates that I purchased a couple of them. And this was back in 2004. So yeah, I've been looking for these books for many, many years. I got the last two, I think, within the last few years. And unfortunately, gosh, they were super expensive. And that's where I did notice that the orange disappearing. Anyway, so with all apologies to Kim, I have not actually read your book. But I am keeping it nice and beautifully green. Right. Almost at the bottom. Almost at the bottom. Dungeoneer Survival Guide. Again, I need to look up some reviews on these books and just see, and no, just because I haven't had the time to read them or not the interest to read them, I'm not selling any of them. At this point, I'm a collector. My passion is clearly, I've got my 5e that I can play because it's easy to find, and I have a basic fantasy role-playing game, which is the basic that I would much prefer to play of any game that's available right now. But these are, it's just for affection, I guess. Like a lot of people who were into this hobby, I was kind of a nerd. I love to read. I love to get lost in my own thoughts. I was not particularly athletic. The weird thing is I had all sorts of athletic ability that I did not use. It wasn't until I started lifting weights in my 40s that I realized, oh my God, How muscle-bound would you have been if you would have started this in your 20s? Anyway, yep. So, I do kind of like, I guess, more realistic-looking art when it has that, like, the monochromatic, you know. This I can get behind. In any case, yeah, I do want to, if I ever had a vacation where I wasn't busy doing carpentry, I would make some time for this. Oriental Adventures. Would they have to retitle that now? Again, modern lens. So what does this add? Okay. So there's monk, ninja, samurai, you know, yakuza, and some others there. So I can see this being useful, but you would have to pretty much create a campaign around it. Like this would have to be your sort of source book. That's interesting. Never noticed that before. Anyway, it's in pretty darn good condition. So here's one of the recent books that I purchased and overpaid. Yeah, and that looks fine. It's in very nice shape. This, though, it's just as washed out here. Like when I look at my lens and I look at that, it looks that bad. So clearly this was one of those people that just stuck it up on the shelf and thought, well, you know, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm sorry if it's boring at this point. We are almost there. We're almost there. In fact, I think that's the last book, Greyhawk Adventures. This one was well taken care of. And other than being badly packaged in the mail when the person sent it to me, to the point, they threw it in just like a regular envelope, like you would throw like a soft cover into, and it came kind of dinged, so I'm kind of irritated about that. But anyway, see, at this point they were already putting on the, you know, you can buy it. It's safe to buy, even if you've moved on to the next edition. Trying to sell to both audiences. Anyway, seeing as Greyhawk was sort of the start of it all, you know, from AD&D, those original 3 books there, little tiny digest-sized ones. This is one that I would like to go through. And look, it's got references to Bigby and Mordenkainen. I could get into this. Just have to make the time for it. But that's all the time for today. So, yeah, you probably bailed out a long time ago. But if not, this is what a complete hardcover collection in D&D looks like. Cheers.